We've got some people joining us. Jim Egan. We cannot start without Mr. Egan. And we're going to continue to admit people as they come, but we're going to get started. Today, our call is on negotiations and closing. Negotiations and closing. And most salespeople think that closing is about pressure and tricks and timing and manipulation. But the truth is, closing is supposed to be the shortest step of the whole process. Closing is supposed to be the logical end of an ongoing agreement. Closing is a leadership act. So without leadership, closing becomes really, really difficult. When we close the right way, is the moment when trust becomes real. All right, we finally found the offender and muted him or her. Okay, now we can get back to it. So, closing is a leadership act, which means we lead the buyer to finalizing the agreement. When closing is done wrong, the reason for that is mostly because we haven't found the vehicle that buyer wants to buy. It's not because of the different objections that we have. It's not really because buyers need to actually go home and think. It's not because buyers need to talk to their spouse. It's not because buyers uh, think that it's too much. It's because it's the wrong car. So when closing is done right, it's done right way before the moment where we present the paper and we ask the buyer to okay it. So it's not about how to close, it's about who you are when it matters the most. And it's about how do we handle the qualification part, how do we handle the wants and needs assessment. So the buyer is certain on what they're purchasing. I want to share with you 5 principles, but my goal for today is to equip you with the tools so you could close more. And by the end of this workshop, my goal is that you stop being scared to ask. You stop hoping that they would say yes, but instead, you would be leading your buyer to the right decision, to the right vehicle with courage, with clarity, and conviction. Can we agree on that? Can I get an amen? Can I get yes from everybody in the chat who is currently present, not the people who are pretending to be here? I would love to see your face, just like I'm looking at the beautiful Jim Egan's face right now. It will be ideal if everybody's focused on the call. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kayleen. It's great to see your face. That way we kind of have perception that we're in person. It almost mimics like we're in person. There is no point for you to be on this call if you're planning on doing other things. You are not going to be punished. You're not going to be um, brutally criticized. You can go and do other things if you don't want to learn how to negotiate and close. But if you are here, I expect you to participate and be active on this call. I'm doing this for you, not for me. So, I want to start with 5 core principles on closing. And by the way, for those of you that are on your computer, you don't have to be on your computer, especially if you don't have a camera. You could use your phone. Your phone is perfectly capable of executing this meeting. You can download the Zoom app from your phone, whether you have an Android or iPhone, and you could easily log in with the Zoom app and use your camera on your phone, which is working because it wouldn't be in your pocket if it wasn't working. And you could join us that way. So please I used to sell cars just like you. I know all the excuses in the book. So let's get back to the 5 core principles of closing that we're going to share today on how to close with honor, with certainty, and with clarity. The first thing when it comes to closing is clarity beats pressure. The reason why you're experiencing pressure before you close the sale, the reason why the buyer is experiencing pressure is because there's a massive amount of clarity that needs to come to the surface. Most people don't say yes because there is something they don't understand about your offer. Confused buyers never say yes. So, if the buyer doesn't understand how the initial investment is impacting them, if the buyer doesn't understand what their responsibilities are and how um, simple interest works. If you don't understand those things, there will be lack of clarity in your mind, and that lack of clarity is being transferred through pure energy to your buyer. So confused buyers don't say yes. Clear buyers do. Only when the buyer clearly understands their commitment, their responsibilities, their plan for the future, only when they understand exactly what your offer includes, they would say yes with confidence. And that's why you cannot assume simply that buyers know how this works. You have to take the time to educate your buyers, just like a 6-year-old child, on everything that is involved about this particular agreement, even the minor details that you assume they know. You have to make sure they're covered, and you make sure that they're understood without any fear of contradiction. So your offer is also as clear as humanly possible and they can say yes. Sometimes there are minor things. Like in my experience, I remember the first time when I bought a brand new car, I was so excited to buy the car. After the test drive, I was ready. I made a spiritual commitment to leave with that new car. And as soon as they said your APR is going to be 6.9%, I was 21 years old at the time. I had no idea what APR means. I wasn't in the finance industry. I wasn't selling cars. I was a bartender, and I had no clue. Never had. I mean, I had a couple of credit cards before, but I still didn't know what APR means, or maybe I didn't even have a credit card at the time. So I had
Noticeable
no idea.
movement of the vehicle will be triggered, and in some models, the safety belt will be tensioned.
All right,
If
we're not gonna do 2 trainings at the same time, Stevanica. We're either here or there. Okay? So clarity means everything because I walked away from that deal and I had to ask my cousin what is APR. Something simple as that could destroy your closing. If you don't know it, I want you to demand understanding. I want you to ask me. I want you to start a post in the picture in the group, in the rejection free circle group, and I want you to demand understanding. Only when you're able to understand your offer, you can clearly communicate it. So the main reason why buyers don't close is number one, they're on the wrong car. Number two, they don't understand something about your offer, or they don't understand something that involves their commitment and their responsibility. So clarity will beat pressure. Make sure that you understand, first of all, that objections are simply unanswered questions. Unanswered questions. So if we proactively answer all those questions that could become an objection, and we are prepared with those, we know which questions that are unanswered become objections. So we could proactively prepare for the next customer and expect that the next customer will also be confused about these things. So that's the first principle I want to share. The second principle is that the close starts at hello. People decide to hire you as a consultant when you shake their hand and when you say hello. If for some reason the buyer decides that they will not be doing business with you at any point in their lifetime after they said hello to you, it makes your job extremely challenging. It makes the close almost impossible. So your first impression is massive. And I know that uh, you are bored when we talk about the 5 pillars of connection. And I know that you don't really practice those. But the easiest way to increase your closing ratio is if you master your first impression, if you master your hospitality skills and you're able to put buyers at ease, if you're master at setting expectations and allowing the buyer to experience zero fear and zero uncertainty from the moment they walk into your dealership, if you master doing a 1 minute pitch that involves a little bit of humor, but it's based on confidence and it's also uh, responding to the buyer's fears, and it puts the buyer even at more ease because what they were expecting of you now becomes clear, and there's no room for assumptions. And if, God forbid, they assume what we are, is going to be very similar to all the bad stereotype you've heard about car salesmen. So we want to proactively avoid that unless we want to be judged for all these bad car salesmen who created this horrible taste in buyers' mouth. We have to work actively to say, stop, I'm not one of those people. We have to work actively on selling ourselves, on our pure intentions and what our plan is on and how we're going to serve the buyer and offer benefits and advantages to that experience and make it easier and better. So the close starts at hello. It doesn't start when you run their credit app and when you know that they can buy, and it doesn't start, it's also not a beginning of negotiations. It's not a beginning of going back and forth. This is how deals were closed 20, 30 years ago when some of our managers were starting as salespeople. It was a completely different dynamic, it was a completely different structure. Please don't confuse this outdated model as something that would work every single time today. Could it work once in a while? Yes, but it's not going to work every single time. So a strong close is basically the final step of the process. It's the magic moment where the buyer says yes, but this yes is long anticipated through many trial closes. And because you've done your job, because you've followed your process, and because you know the buyer is certain on ballpark on the cost, certain on the vehicle they're going to purchase, and certain that they can count on you as a future partner. Principle number 3: silence is power. Silence is power. Those who fear silence usually rush. Um, and rushing will kill trust. So let your offer breathe. When you make the proposal, just like a good wine needs to breathe a little bit, few minutes before you take a sip, you want to let your offer breathe. When you make a proposal, just protect your eye contact with the buyer. But once after you give them the call to action, that's another thing. Some closes fail because there is a lack of call to action. We read the numbers, we say, all right, here's the options you have, and um, then we shut up. Or we say, what do you think? Which is not a call to action. Or we say, do you have any questions? Which is basically subconscious way of saying we're done here. And it gives the buyer opportunity to leave. So our closing question or our call to action is critical. Giving the buyer the directions of what they need to do to finalize the agreement is something so basic, but so many people miss to execute that final piece. So once when we do it right, we want to really give silence the strength that it has in our leverage and allow the deal to breathe. So when the buyer is spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally ready, they okay it, they say yes. We don't want to bring pressure with our energy. We don't want to bring more stress with our energy. We want to really relax and relax our back on our chair and just be patient until the buyer reflects on the offer. And If we've done a great job and the offer is clear, we don't have to answer any questions. We don't have to explain. We don't have to convince. We don't have to manipulate. We don't have to go back and forth. If we've done everything that we're supposed to do at this point, it it's a 5 second, 5 to 35 second step where the buyer basically confirms things that they're familiar with and authorizes the previous agreement that was made at certain point of the process. So I believe that buyers close easier and faster when they know a ballpark of how much the vehicle is going to cost, when they have a ballpark of how much would that work as far as monthly investment. If you're hiding that information from them, they will not close easy. Also, if you're asking the buyer to purchase only one car, if you're offering only one option, people don't make decisions based on one option, even if they chose the option. It makes them feel limited, especially in a world with so many options. Imagine going into an ice cream shop with 100 different flavors and you only have one option. That is so limiting. It feels like a nightmare if you have the ability to purchase more than one. You feel limited. So it's critical for us to have an alternative so we can keep the mind, put the blinders on, and buyers make decisions today. The alternatives have to solve their main problem. They have to respond to the hot button. So far we covered these three principles. Clarity beats pressure. If you're experiencing pressure throughout the closing, if you feel nervous before you present numbers, the only reason is because either you have lack of clarity or your buyer is experiencing clarity and you don't know how to explain it. So I strongly suggest to work with your sales manager and get coaching from them. If you lack clarity, you're going to transfer the same energy to your buyer. And because of that, it'll be difficult to close. Number two, the close starts at hello. The close starts at hello. The first impression is when they decide this person is professional enough, this person is capable enough, this person has good intentions towards me, this person is actually going to genuinely help me to have a better experience. So if you're skipping the 5 pillars of connection that I've been emphasizing as the number one priority for you in today's world, in a world of AI, in the world of fakeness, in the world of transactional salespeople, the world of people who take advantage of others, your greatest gift and your greatest advantage is to be able to become great connector, is to double down not on your sales skills, not on your demonstration skills or presentation skills, but to double down on your interpersonal skills, to become great at connecting, great at hospitality, great at leadership, setting expectations, and selling yourself. And then the third point I wanted to make was silence is power. Allow the close, allow the offer to breathe like a good wine. When you give them a clear call to action, when you explain the offer in a way that everyone is a universal meaning, everyone who's 6 and older would be able to understand the offer. It is so simple to understand that it's a pleasure to repeat. It's a pleasure to for them to go out and teach somebody. It's something that they can take and understand without fear of contradiction. So when your offer is so simple that they can understand it without fear of contradiction, you have a clear offer and they would say yes because they've made multiple agreements throughout the process. Number four, objections are sign of interest. If I ask what is preventing you from closing, most salespeople say objections. They wouldn't say it's the lack of my first impression. It's the lack of the hospitality. It was the lack of me setting the expectations. It was the lack of me selling myself from the very beginning, so they know that they're dealing with seasoned professional. It was the lack of common ground. We didn't have anything in common. They didn't trust me. They didn't like me. They didn't listen to me. Most people would never say that. Most people would say the reason why I'm not closing is because buyers can't buy. Buyers don't have a co-signers. Buyers don't know what they want. Buyers, so they would blame buyers, but they wouldn't take the responsibility. So you have objections because there are skipped steps. So study the objections, because the objections are the desperate act of the buyer to say, I'm interested, but I need clarity on this. And objections are a sign of interest. They're not sign of commitment. They're not sign of the fact that they want and need to buy, but they are a sign of interest, which is good. I mean, the whole point of being at your dealership is a massive sign of interest. So when there are objections, recognize this is your fault. Be humble, understand when the objection came, what the objection was for, and understand that there is lack of clarity in that area. And now, when you see a pattern of those objections that multiple people this week or last month had said, I got to think about it, it is lack of trust, it is lack of influence, it is lack of connection. So they either don't trust you, they either don't listen to you because they don't think you're an expert, or they don't feel connected to you and they are indifferent to you, maybe because they feel like you're indifferent to them. So that is the only reason why people say, I got to think about it. I got to talk to my spouse. I got to go and look at my finances and stuff like that. That is not because people go and sit in the corner of their home like Aristotle and start thinking. They don't do that. So understand the objections, and I want to give you the tools today so you can work with those objections, even though we have failed in our execution so far. When we receive the objection, um, that's the first thing that we can recognize. We can still repair the deal. We could still learn how to be mechanics and repair the deal. So when we hear the objection, the first thing we need to tell ourselves is that the chances for this not to be objections are very high, very high. That the chance of this to be merely a simple complaint is about 93%. So God is on your side. The universe is on your side. If people have an objection, good news. That means they're still interested in doing business with you. That means the deal is still very much alive. That means you dropped the ball at some point in your previous interaction in the earlier minutes. But it's also now, if you know these 3-step ways to repair the objection, it's a opportunity for you to fix it and move forward. So I want to give you that little tool on this 4-step system, how to repair the objections and to really understand, is it a real objection? Is it a complaint, which is most likely what it is, or is it a condition for us to do business? Those are the 3 different options. So conditions are uh, very rare. That's like less than 1%. Conditions are things that prevent us from doing business from a legal standpoint. Or sometimes it's just buyers don't fit in the vehicles, or vehicles don't fit with what they're looking for. Sometimes it's just simply we're not offering anything like that. But it's not really a condition because we can go out and buy what they need. So if it's used, we can go out and buy what they need. So it's not really a condition. So we're very limited on conditions. Now, objections are real when buyers are willing to pay more to get what they want. So objections are good for us because buyers will pay more to get exactly what they want. They're inconvenient for us because sometimes we have to go out of our way to serve the buyer, but they in return would gladly pay more. Just like if you go to a restaurant and if you're on a special diet, and I've done this many times before, and I don't see anything in the menu, then I offer them generosity. I say, I would gladly pay as much as what you're charging for this and simply have a grilled chicken breast with broccoli versus having this whole thing. And restaurants would agree to take my money. They would come up with a different product or different uh, item on their menu, and they would take my money and they would give me what I want. Is it convenient for them? No, but they're not willing to lose my business because I'm a difficult buyer. So they serve. If the restaurant, like if I go that to McDonald's or if I go that to a place that doesn't need my business, then they would definitely tell me you're at the wrong place. So it's up to you. If you feel like you can accommodate the buyer's real objection, first you have to determine that is a real objection. And the test is they're willing to pay more money to get exactly what they want. There's no other test. If they're not willing to pay more money to get exactly what they want, it's not an objection, it's a complaint, and you can still fix it. But if they are willing to pay more money, then they just want to get what they want. You can't judge them for that. The question now is, would you like to serve them? Can you handle that? Is this too inconvenient for you? And how much is your price for inconvenience? Because they might be willing to pay that. And if you're not willing to, then now it's not an objection is just your business model. So um, before we get into the 3-4 steps of how to repair an objection, I want to share my last principle. My last principle that the real enemy with objections is indifference, is lack of empathy, is lack of clarity. It's not the buyers being difficult, it's our lack of empathy. And the good news about the objections is that they are still with us. They're still entertaining the option to buy from us. So don't get upset. Um, my final point before I get into the 4 steps is your conviction transfer, your conviction towards the product, your conviction towards your profession, your conviction towards the organization you represent transfers to the buyer. And that is one of the main factors when people are purchasing automobiles or anything. They want to know that they're making a smart decision by working with a professional, by buying from a place that is there to take care of them and take responsibility for them, and by buying a product that's going to be reliable and will serve them well. So if you're unsure, they'll be unsure. Sometimes everything is perfect. The vehicle is great. The deal is right, but buyers don't buy because one of those 3 pieces is not there. So if you believe, they believe. If you know, they know. It's about transferring that energy. So I wanted to make sure that this is also clear. And now I want to share with you those 4 steps of how to repair the deal. And then I'm going to open up for Q&A. So I hope you have some good objections and good questions to ask. The first thing we do when we hear something that is universally defined from many salespeople and sales managers as an objection, the first thing that we do is we simply ignore it. We have to simply ignore it like it didn't happen. They would say something like, and obviously, if it's a condition, we can't simply ignore it, right? So only if it's what we call objection, we simply ignore it. And what I mean by that is I gotta talk to my wife. I gotta think about it. I don't like the color red. I think this is too high. I think that anything that you call an objection, right? I'm just looking. Um, some questions that they ask are considered objections. Some statements they make is it's my first stop. I need to shop around. Anything that we hear like that is considered objection. Now, if they say I don't have identification, I don't uh, have income and a phone. Now, those are conditions, right? We are not going to simply ignore the conditions. There are 1% of those. We're going to simply ignore the rest of the things. So just wanted to make that clear. And once when we ignore it, when the objection arrives again, we are going to address it by questioning the objection. So the second step is question it. And we're going to question it with the question, just to clarify my mind, what makes this so critical for you at this point? Why is this so critical? Why is this so important for you at this point? We want to ask the question not with judgment, but with genuine curiosity. So we want to be very calm. Hey, John, just so I could understand properly why is this so important to you? Why is this so critical at this point of the process? And wait for them patiently for the answer. Now, the reason why I say we're going to wait for the second time to arrive is because guess what happens with 70% of the things that you call objections? They disappear, they fly, they gain wings, and they fly out. When we simply ignore them, they fly out. And we're going to try that approach twice because buyers nowadays complain a lot. There's a lot of complaints. And even though they're complaining, they are still purchasing. So Costco doesn't discriminate them from complaining. The gas pump doesn't discriminate them from complaining. They don't stop them. The gas pump doesn't say, hold on, you don't like the price? Let me go talk to the manager so we can see if we can do a better price. The gas pump doesn't do that. Costco, every time I go to Costco for a simple thing, I drop $500. And I complain every single time, and every single time I do it. I call my I call my wife, I talk to my cousin, I call to other friends, and I'm like, dude, I just stopped and they got me again. But the complaining doesn't mean they're gonna stop taking my money. Or I never had anyone at the Costco cashier stand when I complained to say, hold on, sir, let me go get the manager and see if we can still give you some sort of a discount. So just because buyer complain, it doesn't mean we have to discriminate them and not take their money. Everybody else is. So let's recognize the complaints and let's act appropriately and not waste any time discussing complaints. We can make the world perfect. We can't make every buyer happy. Trying to make every buyer happy is a guaranteed recipe for disaster. Our job is not to make buyers happy. Our job is to sell cars. So we are going to do what we must in order to produce what buyers came in to do. They came to buy cars. Otherwise, they wouldn't be at a dealership. We're not being obnoxious and bad by selling them cars. That's why they came in. So when we realize, when we hear what I call complaints and most salespeople call objections, the first step is to simply ignore it, pretend that we didn't hear it. We can't acknowledge it. We can't move a muscle. We can't make eye contact. We just have to pretend that it didn't happen. The second time, when it does happen, is when we're going to question it with, just to clarify my mind, what makes this so critical for you at this point? Wait patiently for their answer. Sometimes they would smile. If they smile, that's a great sign for you because now they understand how silly this sounds and how not critical it is and how this is not really important and it's going to sound like complaint. They know that it's going to sound like complaint. Some people are very entitled. Some people have victim mindset. Some people love complaining and they just going to complain and they would think that it's justified, but they would still know that it's merely a complaint and it's not a deal breaker. And that's why we're using those words. It's not non-negotiable and it's not the main benefit they must receive. Absolutely not, but they're still going to mention it. When they mention it, we're moving to step 3 and we're still going to isolate it by using the technique sounds good. Anything besides that? And simply that. If they say nothing besides that, we proceed with the close. We proceed with the close. So we go back to, all right, I just need you to okay here and we'll get it cleaned up. And then you go and spend some money somewhere else. So the third step is isolated. All right, you don't like this. I get it. Anything else? Nothing else. Perfect. I need your okay here. I understand you don't like this part about it. Let's move forward. There's many things that I bought that weren't perfect. There are many things that you bought that weren't perfect, but you needed them, you wanted them, they did the work, and you're okay. You didn't die. That's the same way with buyers. Trust me, the same buyers that have those complaints, Don't always buy everything they want at the grocery store. Don't always buy everything they want at the restaurant. Don't always buy everything they want at the fashion mall. So they are used to not getting exactly what they want when they're limited by certain budget. And number four is to uh, realize that if this is still important to them, it's not a complaint, but it's an objection. So we tried with 3 steps to determine whether it's a complaint or objection. Only when they pass those 3 steps, we have an objection. Congratulations, we have an objection. But when we have that objection, the only reason we know it's an objection is if it's tested against money. So now, when we are at the final stage, we would say, is this more important than your budget? Are you willing to spend a little more to get exactly what you want? Can you see the value to spend $1,000 more or $1,500 more or $5,000 more to get exactly what you want? And if the question is yes, I can see the value, yes, I want to spend more to get exactly what I want, then you have a committed buyer and you need to deliver exactly what they want. If you don't want to deliver exactly what they want, then you choose not to do business with them because they're still willing to pay more than your offer to get exactly what they want. And one person out there will be willing to give them exactly what they want, maybe at some point, especially if they're willing to pay more. So, this is how we handle the objections. First, when they arrive, we want to experience good energy. It means the good news is I am still on my way to close this deal. I am still uh, prepared and ready to close this deal. I might have missed something in the past, and maybe it's a good way to refresh on what you've done so far and go back and educate until there is clarity present. When it arrives, you want to ignore it, you want to celebrate it in silence. When it arrives again, okay, maybe it wasn't a soft complaint, maybe it was a little bit harder complaint. So let me question it. What makes it so critical? And sometimes the scenario is this: I'm not buying a red car, I'm ignoring it, I'm showing the red car. Hey, uh remember I said I'm not ever going to buy a red car, and I can test this with a couple of trial clauses. How does this feel? What do you think about the appearance on this vehicle? Well, as long as it's not red, boom, that's the second time. Hey, just a little curious. Um, what makes it so critical for you not to have a red car at this point? Well, because red costs more for insurance. Boom. Now we can use third party to solve this debate versus disagreeing with the buyer. We can say, hey, Google, does red car cost more for insurance? And then the phone, I turn it off. The phone would say, no, it's a myth. Red car doesn't cost more for insurance. Boom. Objections gains wings and disappears. Oh, if I knew it doesn't cost more for insurance, I'll be open to this color. Boom. So the reason why we question it is because it's a complaint or they have wrong information, and now we get an opportunity to clear that situation. Now, if that doesn't work, it's still a complaint, still not an objection until we determine that is an objection by testing it again. So, other than the red, anything else? Nothing else. Boom, here's my offer. I need your okay here. Boom. Isolate it. If that doesn't work, then we test it against the money and we say, hey, are you willing to spend a little bit more to get a different color? And would you spend $1,000 more just so you can get a different color? Just so you can avoid this? Yep, I'm willing to spend more money. That's how important it is for me. Then we just have to respect that the buyer has the money and they want to get what they want. and we choose at this point whether we do business with them or not. So I hope that this was helpful. Now I want to open up for some interesting discussions. We have over 20 minutes here. So please, please, please share with me what is the most recent objection you lost a deal in the chat, or now you can open up your mic and you can unmute yourself and ask a question. I'd love to have a very productive conversation so I can help you close more deals and make more money. If you're not planning on asking any questions, please share with me in the chat what is the last objection you lost a car deal to. What is the last objection you lost a car deal to? The buyer said, I'm not buying. Goodbye. What was the reason for it? I'd love to see some of those, and hopefully we can discuss that. Mhm. Someone wanted a 3% APR. I want $1 gas prices to come back. That is a complaint that don't need to be tested if they don't like their trade value. I don't like my weight currently. I want to be 20 pounds lighter. Keyword here is like. They don't like their trade value. So they don't like their trade value. Doesn't mean that it's going to make their trade value go up magically. I don't like the price of eggs. I still buy them. I still cook them every morning. These are complaints. And salespeople have become hypersensitive, and they see those as reasons to kill the deal. We kill the deal, not the buyer. We kill the deal. Again, if somebody goes and buys something and they complain anywhere else, they do not discriminate them and they still take their money. But thank you so much for those. Don't be afraid to share them. I'm not trying to shut them down immediately, but just to make that um, experiment and drive my point home. But yeah, somebody wanted a 3% APR rate. Is 3% APR available anywhere? Yeah. And now, is 3% APR more important than the vehicle they're going to purchase? Because I know that some of the vehicles probably have special financing. So now when they say, no, it's not more important than the vehicle I'm going to purchase, then now we're back to the vehicle you're going to purchase and the APR is gone. So these are like very easy to navigate as long as you understand the concept we just went over. So if I went too fast, please go back to this call, watch the recording, and um, and just follow the logic of these principles. Anyone else? Thank you so much, Tanya and Kayleen, for sharing the two objections you lost the deal to. We've got another 26 people. I'm looking forward to hearing their objections. If you're still here, please ask a question, or if you want to share a takeaway from this call today, that will be greatly appreciated. Some things that you learn, some things that you enjoy, some things you want to implement, some things you don't disagree with. Please, floor is yours. Questions, comments, concerns, takeaways, agreements, disagreements. now you have the opportunity, guys, to have a conversation or bring some difficult scenarios.
Velko, what other days are you in person here at Lubeck Road?
Hmm. Uh, I will be coming there probably for a surprise visit in the last day of the month. But next month, I can tell you the exact date. I'm going to be there in August. It will be probably August 7th, Thursday. So
Okay.
change your day off. Just so I'm clear, why is objection so important for you? I really like that, and I truly think will help me close more deals. Yep, Jacob, it sure will. Please follow the whole process first. If you don't ignore it first, it will not work. If you address it right away with that question, the first time you hear it, it will backfire on you. That's like the gas pump saying, if you don't like the price, I want to know why, you know? So you have to ignore it first. Then the second time when it comes up, you do this. And the third time, you isolate it. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you for clarifying that. You're such a young and prosperous gentleman, full of potential. Anyone else? Anyone else? Questions, comments, concerns, objections that you faced earlier? And look, these objections that don't make sense are usually because of failed first 10 minutes. Nothing's more important than the first 10 minutes. Nothing, nothing, not the price, not the, I mean, it depends on why you're there. So if the price was more important and you're giving away all the cars and you have the lowest price, and you're still not going to earn, if you don't connect with these buyers, you're still not going to earn their business again and again and again. You're still not getting any referrals. So, I mean, COVID proved that brutally, that even when we have all the leverage and closing is easy and charging people $50,000 over a sticker is easy, it doesn't mean they're going to be loyal, and it doesn't mean they're going to be sending us referrals. So most people who took advantage of COVID now preach that loyalty is death, dead. The loyalty is dead. It's not. It's just dealers gave up on loyalty. Salespeople gave up on loyalty. So if you want loyal buyers, you must be loyal to them. It's a reciprocity agreement. Anyone else? Please give me some questions or comments or takeaways. I learned ways to test the complaint to know if it's objection. Good. So happy. Anyone else? Mm-hmm. Last week we had the branding class, and I encouraged everybody to write a not to write, but to record a 10-15 second video of selling themselves to social media, just sharing your intentions, sharing your principles, sharing your values, sharing your process, what makes you different, what makes you unique, how do you differentiate from the bad salespeople. And this could be very good exercise for this week as well, since I haven't seen too many videos since last week. I'd love to see some. Let me know how I could help. The other thing I wanted to invite you to do with me is if you're part of our coaching group, the rejection-free circle. Please participate in the daily gratitude, the daily wins, the daily lessons that we learn. It's very empty there. It's very sad. Um, please share some difficulties you're going through. Start a post. Bring up some scenarios. I've got people that want to help and they're bored. They're probably reaching out to you if you need some help, if you need some. And I know that not every one of you is thriving right now. Not everyone is making the money they want to make. Not everyone is selling the cars they want to sell. So we are a little surprised that nobody is, not nobody, but some of you are, that a lot of the students are not reaching out for help. There's two reasons why. Maybe you don't think we could help, or maybe for some reason you are assuming that mm, it's inappropriate, or I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the reasons are, but we'd love to help. This is our purpose. This is our mission. We want to help. We are going to continue to ask you if you need help. When you do, please let us help. You're not supposed to do this on your own. This is very hard profession to do on your own. So allow us to give you the support you deserve, the love and encouragement and structure that you deserve. So please take advantage of us. You have a Ferrari and you're driving it currently like a Yugo. Take advantage of me and my team. And with that, since there's no more questions, comments, concerns, takeaways, and objections, I just want to wish everyone an amazing week. Let's make August and July historical months. July is the build up for August. August is historically the biggest month. And if you're able to transition that momentum from July into August, it rolls into September. And you want to have good momentum for the winter months, because then your biggest competition will be retail and holidays. So you must start intentionally the closing of the year today. Your July will determine your August will determine your September will determine your last quarter. So let's go. I am prepared and ready to help any way you need me to help. One thing I can promise you, no judgment, no criticism, only love. So let's make it a great day. And let me know if you need me. Bye-bye.